So yes, this week for Parashat Emor, we decided to talk about some kind of a touchy subject, especially today, in today's day and age. The idea, the commandment that the Torah says that Kohanim who have some kind of disability, or Baalei Mumim, they cannot work in the Mikdash.
Yeah, and it doesn't seem right. Judaism seems to focus, this is the Mikdash, we focus on spirituality. Why are we so focused on, these physical defects that the Kohen has? Why is that so important? We tried to really take a deeper look at this whole idea of equality, but even more so, about the idea of beauty. Do we care about it? When do we care about it? What's that all about?
Exactly. It's a very big question. We keep on hearing, what do we care about? The internal things, external, what do we really have to focus on in life? And the answer is, of course, always both. But we dove deep into understanding this, especially after this week, Yom HaZikaron, Yom HaAtzmaut. What does it mean for us? What does it mean for our special generation, our unique generation that, as we've seen for the past few months, some incredible stories, some incredible neshamas were living around us, are still living around us. What does it mean for us? What do we have to learn from it? Hope you enjoy. Take a look. So this year for Parashat Emor, I want to talk about what happens towards the end of Perek Kaf Aleph. The Parsha mainly focuses on Kohanim and the different commandments to them. And at the end of Perek Kaf Aleph, we find the Torah commanding something that today, in today's day and age, it might seem not really politically correct, but the Torah says that Kohanim, who have some kind of imperfection, who have some kind of physical issues, cannot serve as Kohanim in the Mikdash. And the Torah brings a list of these kind of issues. And again, maybe because it's 2024, but still, you really have to ask, why? Why is it like that? Why do Kohanim, who have these kind of issues, why can't they serve in the Mikdash? Don't we believe in Yiddishkeit, in Judaism, that it's more important the inside of a person? We really believe in it. We see time and time again. So why over here does the Torah command that people who have these kind of issues, physical issues, they can't serve in the Mikdash as Kohanim? What is this all about?
Yeah, that's very interesting. As you're saying, really in today's world, it's, everything is about being equal opportunities. But I think that the question comes from two misconceptions. One is this concept of equality, this concept that basically everyone is supposed to be the same, do the same, have the same exact opportunities. It's not like that. HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world with different beings who can do different things. I wouldn't want to have wings maybe like a bird, but I wasn't created with wings. So I can't fly, and I shouldn't fly, and I shouldn't try to do that. Okay, every person, every being has their own purpose, has their own role, was created in their own way. Just as a Levi and a Israel isn't a Kohen. The Kohen is special, he's better than everyone else? No, the Kohen is a Kohen, and the role that he was gotten is the role that he has. And I'm not supposed to be a Kohen, I'm not supposed to want to be a Kohen. There's nothing about not being fair of not being a Kohen. Same thing here. We see in the pasuk itself, it says that this person, this Kohen, with this problem, he eats the Kochei Kodashim. I'm Israel, I can't eat the Kochei Kodashim. But, Ela parochet lo yavo, ela mizbach, meaning there are certain things which he doesn't do, and there are certain things which he does. But I think there's another misconception. This idea that beauty, that external beauty, is something that we don't believe in Judaism. It's something that is not really important. The ikar is the inside, that's all that matters. And we don't really live that way. I've never gone to a shul that looked awful, and I asked, why does your shul look like this? And they said, oh, because beauty doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what it looks like. We don't do that. That's disrespect. Why is it disrespect if beauty doesn't matter? It's respect. We only care about the inside. But that's not how it works. When the external side is covering up for the internal side, when the beauty on the outside is a distraction, is causing you to not focus on the inside, like the famous story of Rabbi Yoshua ben Hanania, who wasn't very beautiful based on the story, and the Caesar's daughter makes fun of him and says, you have Torah, look what you look like. And he says, where does your father put his wine? And she says, well, in barrels. And he says, no, you should put it in golden vessels. And that's what she does, and everything gets ruined. Why? Because golden vessels are a cover-up. It makes the outside more important than what's inside. The importance of the wine is the wine itself. If you focus on the outside, the wine will get spoiled. That's not the case when we're talking about the Mikdash. When I come to the Mikdash, I'm supposed to meet HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the most perfect thing in the world, the most beautiful thing in the world. But I can't see HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So how do I see? I come lir'ot et Pnei Hashem. I see the Mikdash. I see Avodat HaMikdash. I see what happens there. If I would come there and the Mikdash didn't look beautiful, the impact it would have on me is different. And therefore, when the Kohen is sitting and eating his korban, that's great. It doesn't matter if he looks beautiful or not, if he looks perfect or not. But when the Kohen is part of the Mikdash, is part of that role, it's what I see. It's the godliness that I meet when I come to the Mikdash. We know the Kohen has that double role. Sometimes he's our shaliach, and therefore we want him to be perfect. And sometimes he's HaKadosh Baruch Hu's shaliach. And then when we want to see it, we want to see godliness. We want to see perfection. Not because, as we said, if it's not perfect, it doesn't have value. But this is what the Mikdash is all about. It's not an external beauty that's covering up anything, the opposite. It's an external beauty that's expressing something. But I think there's actually an even deeper level here. Because I think that beauty not only is not a negative thing, beauty actually expresses something very, very deep. Why does the whole world seek beauty. What is this? Why do humans always want to see something beautiful? And we've discussed in the past this idea of beauty. Beauty is harmony. Beauty is when different things, if I draw a painting all in one color, that's not beautiful. It's when I take different colors, contradicting things that create contrast, but they come together to paint a beautiful picture, a beautiful song, a beautiful view. This harmony is maybe the deepest expression of godliness in the world. We say, Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. Hashem Echad. We're talking about the oneness of God, that even though the world seems to contradict, seems to be chaotic, seems that everything is going in different directions, godliness is exactly that beauty, is exactly where all those contradicting pieces come together. So therefore, in essence, striving for beauty is actually deep down, striving for godliness, striving to find godliness within the chaos of the world. Therefore, there's no better place for us to try and express that beauty than the Mikdash itself, whether it's the building or whether it's the people that are working or their clothing or everything around that. That's where we want to see that beauty. That's where we want to express more of all, that us seeking for that beauty is us actually seeking for Hashem Echad in this world.
Very good, very good. Like I said, it might not sound like a politically correct discussion to have, but it is important to note, like you were saying, a few things. First of all, every human being has a purpose in this world. We keep on saying this almost in every single video we have, because this is one of the most important things in Judaism in general. Ma chovat adam be'olamo, the Mesilas Yesharim starts off. You have to understand what your job is in this world. And each individual has a job. Each individual has to create and bring something into the world. And just because you think that you deserve something and you have to be something because society around you tells you have to do it, it doesn't necessarily mean that that is your job, that is your purpose. And even though you were born Kohen, if you have other issues, you might not need to be the one serving in the Mikdash. You might have other things to do, other fulfillments to fulfill. But interestingly, we always also say you have to listen to the Hebrew language, and there's something very beautiful over here. Davka, specifically about this word mum, about this word of a defect that there is in a person. When the Torah says mum, and it says it time and time again over here, look at that word mum. It's a very short word, but a perfect, beautiful word. Because first of all, in the letters, it has the regular letters, and then it ends with a final letter. It ends with a mem safit, with a full square, with a perfect square that ends the word. But then on top of that, look at the word. It's a perfect word. It starts with a mem, vav, mem, and it's a philindrom. You can read it from both ways. You can read it from right to left, and you can read it from left to right. And really looking at this word like this, looking at this perfect word, you have to say to yourself, the Torah is telling something to the person that has a mum, that even though you have a mum, you are perfect for what you need to do in this world. You have perfection in you. It might not seem like that on the outside. It might not seem like that compared to other people around you. But within you, for your specific job in the world, you are perfect. And you have to fulfill that job. And only you can fulfill that job with everything that's going on, with everything that you have and you don't have. Still, you are perfect for your job, and you're the only person that can fulfill that job. And, thinking about this whole idea of Balei Mumin, and you mentioned the story of the Gemara with the cups of wine. It reminds me of another story in the Gemara of Rab Shimon ben Elazar, the Gemara in Tanis, that tells the story of Rab Shimon ben Elazar when he was walking from Lud. And you have to pay attention, you have to notice, you have to listen to the details. The Gemara says that he was walking from Lud, and he was very happy that he learned a lot of Torah. But the Gemara says, Da'ato gasa alav. This word gasa means also full, but it also means rough, also means not pleasant, means not nice. Da'ato gasa alav. And he was filled with this kind of happiness that he learned a lot of Torah. And then he sees this ugly person, and he says hello to him, and he doesn't reply. So Rab Shimon ben Elazar says, Reka, you ugly person, could it be that all the people in your town are ugly like you? In a very harsh manner, in a very harsh way. And this ugly person turns around to him and says to him, well, if you think I'm ugly, you should go to the one who created me, Liyotzri. And Rab Shimon ben Elazar understands that he did something wrong, and he right away apologizes to the person, and then the person doesn't want to accept the apology, and the story continues. But one of the ideas behind the story, one of the thoughts behind the story is that you have to look at this comparison between Rab Shimon ben Elazar and this ugly person. Rab Shimon ben Elazar, this rabbi, this big rabbi, who the story later on tells us how the people from the town were coming out to him and greeting him, and he was filled with Torah. And then on top of all, at the end of the story, Rab Shimon ben Elazar runs to the Beis Midrash and teaches a new teaching that he learned from this ugly person, so-called ugly person. And you see in this story how on the one hand, you can have someone who looks perfect for the job, who looks beautiful, who looks perfect for containing Torah, yet the Gemara tells you time and time again that he wasn't perfect for it, that the Torah within him wasn't being held the right way. And yet on the other hand, you had this ugly vessel, this ugly person, but HaKadosh Baruch Hu created him. And he's the one who not only was holding Torah within him, but he actually was able to teach the rabbi who went and taught the others. Meaning to say, just like we were saying, in the end of the day, each person has their purpose that they got from their creator, from the Yotzer, from the one who created us all. And this purpose is not always clear on the outside. And it's definitely not the same purpose as other people have, because we each have our own unique purpose. And this is what we have to fulfill in this world. And for this purpose, we are perfect. Even though with the mum, you are still perfect. And this is a very important point to remember, specifically for this discussion, because because again, it may sound not politically correct. But then on top of it, like you were saying, there's another level, the level of, yes, we do care about beauty. Yiddishkeit is not only about the inside. We put a lot of emphasis and focus on the inside, but we also care about the outside. And says Rav Kook in a few famous places specifically about this, that one of the things that is happening when Am Yisrael returns to their land, when Am Yisrael returns to their home and establishes their state and establishes their identity again in Eretz Yisrael, one of the things that we have to do is come back to all these external things, like you were saying, in order to make sure that they are not fake and only on the outside, but actually to fill them in with the spirituality that Am Yisrael brings into the world, to fill them in with the ruach of Am Yisrael. Like you were saying, you can have golden cups on the outside with wine inside, but then that beauty will destroy each other. They won't work together. And Am Yisrael's job, Am Yisrael's purpose, once we have returned to our land, is to fill that external beauty with the internal spirituality, with the internal meaning that Am Yisrael brings into the world. And Rav Kook says it specifically in Orot HaMilchama, in Perek Gimel, in the 3rd chapter of Orot HaMilchama, and he starts, Azavnu ta politika olamit. We mentioned this in the past, that we have left the global politics, we have left the global discussions, and it was easier for us to focus internally on our own little problems in our shtetls around the Galus. But once we come back to Eretz Yisrael, we have to deal with all these issues that we kind of turned away from because it was easier for us to ignore them because we wanted to deal with spirituality more and because we wanted to dive deep inside. But says Rav Kook, when we come back to Eretz Yisrael, we can't ignore these aspects of life, and we have to fill them too with spirituality, with holiness. And this is what we have to bring into the world. And Rav Kook says it in the 3rd chapter of Orot HaMilchama, because in the 2nd chapter of Orot HaMilchama, and this is, we also mentioned in the past, he talks about these special neshamas that are around in the generations of the big wars of Am Yisrael, and we mentioned it. And going through this week of Yom HaZikaron, Yom HaAtzmaut, you heard so many stories of the fallen heroes, the fallen holy heroes of our nation that have fallen throughout the past few months. And maybe because there's so many stories, suddenly it hits you about these amazing neshamas, these unbelievable human beings that have walked around us, the things that they said, the writings that they wrote, that they left behind. Really, it's unbelievable. And for me, the only way to understand it is really going back to that chapter in Rav Kook, where he discusses how these generations have these special neshamas in them, the same neshamas that we saw in the time of the Tanakh with David HaMelech, Avram Avinu, Yitzchak Avinu, Yaakov Avinu, these same neshamas that were able to be on such a high spiritual level, but yet on the other hand were able to fight a real war. Milchemet Hashem be'akara pnimi. They knew that the war they were fighting, although in the physical world was Milchemet Hashem, was the war of HaKadosh Baruch Hu on the spiritual level, and they were able to combine this. And says Rav Kook, these generations have these neshamas too. And having Yom HaZikaron leading into Yom HaAtzmaut tells us tells us that these neshamas are around us, and we see them very clearly and hear their stories in Yom HaZikaron. But we have to remember that we also still have these kind of neshamas around us. These neshamas are the ones that are going to rebuild and continue to build on Yom HaAtzmaut. And these are the neshamas that says Rav Kook in 3rd chapter in Perek Gimel that have to go out and rebuild the world, rebuild the beauty, and take the spirituality and fit it into the external beauty. These neshamas are the ones that have this power to combine the worlds. These neshamas are the ones that have the power to take this pnimiyut and connect it to the chitzoniyut, and through that lift up the chitzoniyut, and through that fill up the chitzoniyut with holiness. And if these neshamas are around us in our generation, it just means that in the end of the day, it's our job to fulfill this. We have the powers around us to do this. With a mum or without a mum, this is our purpose. This is our generation. This is the generation that we have the great zchut to live in. And this just means that our job to fulfill and our purpose and what we have to fulfill in this world is so much greater.
Yeah, I totally agree with this. One of the reasons that we treat beauty and the external side of things the way we do is because for thousands of years, we didn't have an external side. Am Yisrael lost its external presence, its physical presence as a nation in its land. We were in the Galut. All we had was our internal world. All we had was the neshama of Am Yisrael. And coming back is about rebuilding with that neshama, rebuilding that physical presence of Am Yisrael, going back to that normality of Am Yisrael's great neshama being expressed through its physical presence. Eretz Yisrael isn't supposed to be another shtetl. We're supposed to go back and build this place. People who land in Israel are supposed to go, wow. They're supposed to see, wow. Just as we walk into the Mikdash and we go, wow, that is the impression. You're supposed to feel you've entered the land of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Rav Kook also says in the famous speech when he speaks at the Betzalel school, the art school, he tells this story about this little girl who's been sick for so long and suddenly opens her eyes and asks for her doll. And everyone's so excited. The doll, the doll, the doll. She wants the doll. Shoshana wants the doll. And why are they so excited? She's still sick. She still has a long way to go. But until now, all she cared about was survival. Her caring about something beyond that, the doll, beauty, things that go beyond just survival is a sign of coming back to life. Caring about beauty, caring not only about survival is a healthy sign of coming back to normality, of coming back to our land. It's part of the Mikdash. and it's part of building a state here in Eretz Yisrael.
Very good. Especially after what we've been through the past half year, we have to continue building and remember that everything we've been through, everything we're going through, is in order for us to add beauty and add good into the world. But we'll end here. Shkoyach Yitzi.
Shkoyach Tuvia, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, and we'll talk again next week.